you have a kid with Down syndrome.
We do, yes.
I've been thinking lately about what a blessing. I'm not sure what the politically correct terminology is, so forgive me if I get it wrong, but like disabled people physically or mentally. I know they say differently abled, but I don't love that word. It seems like, no, they're disabled. We don't need to pretend that. Anyway, but just what a blessing they are. I was at a homeschool co-op recently with my family, and there was this beautiful little boy in a wheelchair who can't speak, and, you know, whose arms are all kind of bent in, and just this, it kind of brought about this softness to my own heart as I was with him. There's something beautiful when people are vulnerable. That's a beautiful thing. And not vulnerable for a malicious end, you know, so that you like them more or congratulate them, but are just honest, right? There's something beautiful about honesty, and it's almost like people who are physically disabled are incapable of putting on a front, and it does something to me. It softens me, and I think it does that to a lot of people who aren't afraid or allergic to it. That's also an interesting reaction to the mentally or physically disabled.
Yeah, when I was young, I felt threatened by children with Downs. You know, people with Downs, they're just weird. Keep them away from me. You know, the hardness of my heart and the ignorance of the reality of who they are as human persons. So I you know, our son Leo, it's been a great blessing in our lives. He is the happiest member of our family. We have, I say that the traditional mass we go to is the only mass where we have liturgical dance to polyphony, because our son gets up and he starts swaying, you know, to the Gregorian chant and Palestrina. And I tell you what, by the way, the stereotyping of people who like the traditional mass. We've been going to that mass for 15 years, and Leo is loved. I've heard no one has ever said anything. He must be a bit distracting, you know. Right. Doesn't make noise. If he starts making a noise, we take him out, like you with a kid, right? Yeah. But if he's just moving, we can't stop him fidgeting. You know, if he stands up, let him stand up and sway for a while, and then we ask him to sit down. And he does, you know. But no one. I mean, it's just full of love for him, and I love our parish for that reason. But living example, very rarely. And not for a long time, thanks be to God, I've lost patience with him, right? And I say something angry to him. Maybe it's the middle of the night, and he's got me up in the middle of the night, and I'm tired, I just want to go back to bed, you know, and he won't go to sleep. And when you say something angry to him, he looks at you with those innocent eyes and says, I don't know why, I don't understand, you know, he understands the relationship I have with him, and this is something different, and it's just complete perplexity on his part. You know, it's... all I can say is that he is a path to sanctity for me and my wife and our daughter. That he helps us to be patient. He helps us in love. Yeah, he's an absolute great gift and a blessing. There's a sacrifice. There's a cross as well. But it helps us to understand that the cross is itself a blessing. Right? Trying to avoid the cross is not the way to get closer to Christ.
What was it like when you had him and realized he had Down syndrome?
This is one of the most miraculous moments in my life, because I was there at the birth, and they handed Leo to me at birth, so I saw him before Susanna did, and I saw it immediately because his facial features, he had Down, so I knew straight away. And I just said, you know, I don't think it's out loud, but it's certainly very clear in my head, just 3 words: so be it. But that was not me, right? I know me. There's these certain moments in my life, rarely, but when there's been an infusion of supernatural assistance, and it's this moment of absolute acceptance was a gift of grace at that moment. The selfishness in me was sort of purged for that moment, and as Susanna said, the fact that I was so accepting from the first moment made it much easier for her.
Yeah, wow. Have you experienced people looking at him funny or treating you differently in a negative way because of him at restaurants or something like that? And how do you handle that?
I mean, it's mostly children, you know, and they just all they're doing, God bless them, their innocence. That he's different. He's obviously a grown up, and he's not behaving as grown ups do, and they just keep looking, and they're a bit disturbed by him, and we understand that. And no, he's our normal. Right, he's our normal, so that's our normal life. So there's nothing unusual for us. We just take all of that in our stride, you know.
Yeah. What advice do you have to young parents who have a disabled child or someone with Down syndrome?
That's a great one. You know, all I can say is that they first of all pray, because we all need help. But with prayer, you know, they will transfigure, you know, their lives. and they should be seen as a great blessing. I always try to give literary examples. There's a wonderful novel by Flannery O'Connor called The Violent Bear It Away. And this is Flannery O'Connor's brilliance, because there's a character in that called Bishop, and he's quite clearly has Down syndrome. And all the rest of the characters are all selfish and nasty, right? And they don't see the point of Bishop. And what's the point of, he has no point. You know, he's in an economic function, he's no purpose, you can't talk to him. And in the end, you know, he's killed by one of them. Symbolically, he's drowned. It's sort of baptism. He hadn't been baptized, so there's this going on. But only Flannery O'Connor can make a child with Down syndrome the Christ figure, because throughout the whole of that, he is the innocent. He is the only person not full of hatred and narcissism, antagonism towards the neighbor. He's just completely open and to everybody, even when they treat him badly. He still, you know, is typical Down's loving openness. And then, you know, he's killed. He's the innocent victim. Only Flannery O'Connor could turn a child with Down syndrome into a Christ figure, and I love her for that.
Well, that's beautiful. Has it been I remember the first time I met you, we were at an airport. I forget where, Kansas maybe.
It's Kansas City Airport.
I remember I had something on my face, and you're like, hey, hang on. And you were rubbing something away off of my face. Okay. And I just thought, this is a very different thing for a person I've just met to do. And it was so gentle. And I just thought, you seem like a gentle person. And I bet your relationship with your son I was honored by it, by the way. I actually thought it was a beautiful thing. You know, there was kind of like this immediate sort of vulnerability that I wonder if your beautiful boy Leo has helped you grow in. Absolutely. I'm not the most patient of people, and patience is one of the things you have to have when you have a child with Downs, and he's helped me grow in patience. He's helped me grow in the trust of God. I mean, I am a much better person than I would have been because of Leo, and we all are as a family because of Leo. I mean, I don't know what else to say. There were concerns. We've had to take all sorts of measures, trusts, funds, and everything else, because, you know, he's probably going to outlive us. So you've got all those practical, pragmatic, you know, not very interesting aspects of things to make sure that when we die, you know, whoever's looking after him won't have to worry about money, at least, right? But you have to trust God with that as well. I mean, you have to trust the Lord. I mean, we don't know what's happening next in our lives. We just move forward in trust and hope that everything's going to be good, you know. How did you view people with disabilities back in your neo-Nazi days? How would you have viewed someone with Down syndrome if you were 16 or 17 and they had approached you? Yeah, I think there was enough of a soft heart in me that I wouldn't have gone along with the hardcore, you know, exterminate the unfit. But I was uncomfortable and wouldn't know what to do with the situation. But keep it out of sight, and it was okay. But I wouldn't want to kill them. I was never that. I knew people that would. But I wasn't, thanks be to God, one of those, even in my worst years. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, do us a favor, leave a comment, let us know what you thought of the video, like, and subscribe.